Imagine biting into a piece of fruit that is so perfect, just so mind-bendingly delicious that it completely shatters your understanding of the universe.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of pressure to put on a snack.
Right. But just one bite, and suddenly you realize that everything you thought was like the absolute best in life was actually just a mediocre warm-up.
Total paradigm shift, yeah.
Exactly. And then flip that. So imagine sitting down to, a mandatory workplace potluck dinner, taking a polite bite of some casserole, and having an experience so awful that it introduces you to the bottomless depths of human suffering.
Which is quite the leap from a bad Tupperware dish.
It really is. But that is exactly what we're getting into today. We want to welcome you, the listener, to this custom deep dive. We know you want a quick, structured exploration of these wild ideas without feeling, totally overwhelmed.
Right. And the source we are looking at today is a translated essay from 2021 by an author named Shufeng.
Yeah, and it's called There Are No Limits to Goodness and Badness.
And what I love about this text is that it does not start with high-minded, abstract philosophy. It literally starts in the kitchen.
Right. Our mission today is to explore this crazy framework that uses super mundane, everyday objects to prove that the universe contains infinite extremes. From a life-changing Mexican grape to an unspeakably horrific wine jar.
It is a journey, for sure. So, to understand this infinite nature of the universe, Shufeng says, we first have to look at how we measure the best.
And he invites us into this very specific and honestly exhausting daily habit of his.
Yeah, exhausting is the word. He is a guy who entertains guests 365 days a year.
Which is just, I cannot even imagine having people over every single day.
Right. But because he hosts nonstop, he serves his guests fruit every day.
Yeah.
And he considers himself this true grape connoisseur.
And honestly, he kind of earned the title. He systematically ate his way through like the entire global grape market over the years.
He really did. He lists them out. He's had grapes from the U.S., Canada, Brazil, red, purple, black, green.
Sour, sweet, astringent. If there is a grape to be eaten on planet Earth, this guy has bought it, served it, and analyzed it.
Exactly. So he reaches this very logical conclusion, right? He assumed he had experienced the absolute ceiling of what a grape could be.
The pinnacle of grape existence.
Right. He thought he mapped the entire territory of goodness for this fruit. But then March 10th, 2021 rolls around.
The day everything changed for him. He eats a Mexican grape.
Yeah, and the way he describes it, you can just feel his brain breaking.
He describes it as green, large, seedless, thin-skinned, sweet, and incredibly moist.
But for him, it wasn't just a tasty snack. It was this massive existential shock because it proved his fundamental assumption about the universe was wrong.
Okay, let's unpack this because he drops this very dramatic, beautiful quote right after eating the grape.
Oh, the poetry quote, yeah.
Yeah.
He writes, "Do not mention streams to him who has seen a great ocean. The clouds that circle Wu's peak are the only clouds for him."
I love that quote so much. It's like assuming you know exactly what music sounds like because you've listened to it on cheap earbuds your whole life.
Right. Just crackly, terrible audio.
Exactly. You think music is just fine, and then suddenly you're sitting in the center of a world-class symphony hall with perfect acoustics. You don't just hear a better song, you realize you didn't even know what music was.
That is a perfect analogy.
But I have to ask, is the author just being like an extreme foodie here, or is this single grape acting as a gateway drug to a much larger cosmological realization?
What's fascinating here is that the grape literally shatters the illusion of a ceiling. He thought perfection was this static, achievable thing.
Like you hike up a mountain and plant your flag.
Exactly. But the Mexican grape proves that perfection is actually a false endpoint. Absolute beauty is an ever-expanding horizon.
Which is wild because if this grape exists and he didn't know about it, what else is out there?
Right. And he pulls on that thread really hard. He says, well, if Earth, with all its biological limits, can produce a grape that shatters my reality, then even better grapes must exist in higher realms.
Higher realms. Like he actually mentions a 1,000-year world and a 10,000 world.
Yeah, he treats them as literal, tangible higher dimensions. He argues that an Earth grape can only get so good because of our specific climate and physics.
Oh, so if you remove the physical constraints of Earth, the goodness just scales up infinitely.
Precisely. As the environment elevates, the objects elevate too. There is no limit.
So it's this beautiful, infinite upward trajectory of goodness, all proven by a really good snack.
But, there's a catch.
Yeah, because realizing that goodness has absolutely no ceiling forces A very dark, terrifying parallel question. If the sky goes on forever, how deep does the floor go?
It is the law of polarity. If there is no ceiling to goodness, there can be no floor to badness.
And to show us this bottomless floor, the author takes us out of the kitchen and back to 1988. He's a middle school teacher attending a principal-mandated staff potluck.
Which is already the setting for a horror story, honestly.
Totally. Everyone has to bring 2 dishes. And a colleague of his, Teacher Kai, brings this dish that is so extremely unpalatable that he has to hold his breath just to swallow it.
Just forcing it down to protect her dignity.
Right, just to save face in front of the principal. But the crazy part is he is writing this essay in 2021.
Over 30 years later.
30 years. And this bad casserole is still burned into his memory? But here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back on his logic here.
Okay, let's hear it.
It feels like a massive, almost jarring leap from eating a bad casserole in 1988 to what he brings up next. He goes from bad cooking to poisonous steamed buns, toxic fruits, and then literal and evil dismemberment in a wine jar.
Yes,
Yeah.
the wine jar.
Like, how does he justify jumping from a polite, awkward dinner party to absolute horror? Teacher Kai making a mistake with her recipe is not the same as torture.
Well, Shuofeng isn't focusing on Teacher Kai's intent. He is mapping out a continuum of suffering.
A continuum.
Yeah.
Stepping stones.
Exactly. Just as the Mexican grape proves the limitless nature of the divine, the bad potluck is the first step on a downward staircase that has no bottom.
But how do you get from bad food to a torture jar?
Think about it. The bad food represents accidental discomfort, but it proves that extreme unpleasantness exists. Now add malice to that object.
Okay, so that leads to the toxic food, the poisonous steamed buns.
Right, someone is actively trying to harm you, then you step down again. What happens when human malice combines with systemic sadistic intent to maximize suffering?
Wow. Okay, so that leads straight to the wine jars, the absolute removal of empathy.
You've got it. You cannot comprehend the true depth of the abyss until you recognize the slippery slope that leads down to it.
Yeah.
You think a bad day at work is your floor, but the universe actually has a sub-basement.
Badness is just as boundless as goodness. That is deeply unsettling, you know? Like, if you are listening to this right now, just let that sink in. We are all sandwiched right in the middle of these terrifying, infinite extremes.
Caught between the perfect grape and the terrible jar.
Exactly. So what does this all mean? What are we supposed to actually do with this information in our daily lives?
Well, this raises an important question about agency. He writes this core thesis. Absolutely beautiful things must be waiting to be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives.
Wait, lives is capitalized in the text, right?
Yes, all caps. He is demanding active participation. You cannot just sit around and wait for a perfect grape to fall into your lap.
So it sounds like we are on a cosmic spiritual treadmill.
A treadmill is a good way to look at it.
Like, if we aren't actively sweating and running forward toward these higher realms, he mentions the new oasis for life or the Elysium Celestial Islands, the treadmill is just going to passively drag us backward right into that wine jar of suffering.
It is a great analogy, but let me offer one more. Think of your internal state as an electromagnet.
An electromagnet. Okay, walk me through that.
So you take a piece of iron and you wrap copper wire around it. The more wire you wrap and the more current you pass through, the stronger the magnetic field becomes.
Right. Standard physics.
In his framework, every time you choose patience over anger or actively try to understand the universe, you are literally wrapping more copper wire around your core.
You're increasing your voltage to build an absolutely beautiful life?
Yes. And because your internal magnet is highly charged, you naturally attract the boundless good. The universe pulls you toward the 1,000-year world or the Elysium Celestial Islands.
But what if you just stop wrapping the wire? Like, what if you say, hey, I'm a good person, I don't need to work on myself anymore?
That is where the warning comes in. If you stop wrapping the wire, your magnet loses its charge. And in an infinite universe, there is no neutral ground.
Gravity just takes over.
Exactly. If you are not actively magnetizing toward beauty, you succumb to the downward pull. He warns that you risk falling into the mud of badness, which drags you into a boundless sea of bitterness.
Man, the stakes of an average Tuesday are suddenly infinitely high. How you react to getting cut off in traffic isn't just about managing stress anymore. It is dictating your trajectory.
And, we should pause here to remind you, the listener, that we are not endorsing any specific spiritual ideology today.
Right. Absolutely.
Whether or not you believe in a literal Elysium Celestial Island or a 1,000-year world, our goal is just to impart Yuefeng's fascinating framework.
Yeah, we're just looking at the lens he uses to view the world, because honestly, the psychological weight of his argument is completely valid either way.
It demands critical thinking and evolution. He takes the most mundane things, a piece of fruit and a bad potluck, and turns them into proof that the ceiling of beauty is an illusion and the floor of suffering does not exist.
Which perfectly summarizes the journey we just took. A mind-blowing Mexican grape and an unpalatable 1988 casserole serving as everyday proof of infinite extremes.
It really changes how you view your own capacity for growth.
It totally does. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about the rest of your day.
Oh, I love these. Let's hear it.
So, if the ultimate goodness in the universe is completely limitless, scaling up forever, and the ultimate badness is completely bottomless, plunging downward without end, does that mean our boring, everyday, middle of the road experiences are actually the rarest and most fragile states of existence in the entire universe?